Hi, I'm Connie Adkins and I'm the behavior coach at DC2. I'm here today to talk about autism. What are some of the common characteristics of autism? There are three common characteristics of autism: deficits or differences in social skills, deficits or difference in communication skills, and also differences in routines and behaviors, and also some sensory differences. So let's look at the social skill challenges. Individuals with autism often have a lack of awareness of the existence or feelings of others, and this makes it difficult for them to relate to other people. They often seem to be aloof and distant from others, and they appear not to listen when spoken to. And also they have challenges in showing emotions on their face. You can see this sometimes if you know anyone who's autistic and they're speaking, their face looks sort of blank. They don't really enjoy eye contact, and they have challenges in their environment and routine. They have challenges in seeking opportunities to interact with other people, and they are unwilling or unable to engage in cooperative play. Communication skills challenges. Challenges in using and understanding both verbal and nonverbal language. And that also means that they may not understand what you're saying, or your nonverbal, such as when my kids were little, I would just give them the look. All moms have it. And they knew what it meant. Had they been autistic, they may not have recognized that look. Or if you point to a chair, instead of saying sit in this chair, they may not pick up that nonverbal. Failure to initiate or sustain conversations. You can see that with the child. You might notice that they don't go and talk to other children or adults and ask them questions or tell them anything. They don't like to interact, and that includes conversations. And when they do speak, they may have abnormalities in their pitch, stress, rate, rhythm, or just the way they talk may sound different than other children. These children also may have poor receptive and expressive skills. That means they may not understand what you're saying to them, but it also means that they may not be able to express themselves to you. May echo words either immediately or delayed. And that means that if you say something, the child might just repeat what you say, and maybe more than once, but doesn't seem to use it in context of a conversation. They may scream and cry and have temper tantrums and be aggressive, and they may use that as a way to communicate. Like this means like they sound like a robot when they talk. It's not normal expression of language. Sometimes you may see unusual or repetitive movements of the body that interfere with the ability to attend to tasks. One that's pretty common is rocking, though there are many others listed here. You may see children who rock, and that interferes with their ability to focus on the task at hand. And they may have problems with change in their environment. Things that may seem to be unimportant to the teacher or the parent could be very alarming to these children. Sometimes you might notice them laughing or crying, showing some kind of an emotion, and you don't know why that's happening. And routine is very important to them. They insist on things following the routine over and over so their life can be predictable. They may be unresponsive to normal teaching methods. That's why I like the phrase, if they can't learn the way we teach, then we need to teach the way they learn. As I said before, they may act as if they don't hear you, and sometimes people wonder if they have hearing problems. Another one that's interesting is in some of these children, they may be over or under sensitive to pain. So maybe the child will become very upset over just a little scratch, where other children may take a pretty hard fall and appear not to be bothered by it at all. They don't have a lot of fear of real danger, and sometimes they have problems with their gross motor skills, which are their large motor skills, and also their small motor skills. So they may have trouble with penmanship, things like that at school. It's important to remember that even though there are a lot of these characteristics, it's not necessary that every child who is autistic would have all of these characteristics. Some may have a few and some may have a lot. Some of them may have difficulty cuddling. They don't really appreciate the close contact. And so if a child is hurt or upset about something and you go to hug that child, then that may not be a comforting thing to do to them. They can become attached to objects. And I have here age inappropriate play. For age inappropriate play, that means when children are really little and they first start playing together, they play more beside each other. That's called parallel play. And as they get older, they start to play together. They may have imaginary games and things that they cooperate with together, cooperative play. Children with autism have difficulty with that. So if you see them playing beside another child, you may not see them really interacting with that child. And sometimes they'll be very energetic. People may think that they have more energy than other children, but also it can go the other way and they could be underactive. So what can we do to help these children in their everyday life? Here are some strategies that can be used. Keep it structured. You can have more success by breaking tasks down into smaller parts. So rather than saying to your child, go get ready for school, you need to break it down to brush your teeth, comb your hair, put your shoes on, one task at a time. Use visuals. Children with autism learn best if they can see pictures. Because they have trouble with language, it makes sense that pictures can work for them. So try that at home. Use schedules. Children with autism perform best when they know exactly what to expect. And again, it's very important to stick to the schedule as much as possible. And reduce distractions. A lot of people don't realize that having beautiful posters on the wall, different noises in the background, or even a change in smells can be very distracting to a child with autism. Use simple language and say what you need to say in as few words as possible. It's not helpful to go into a long story about why they need to do what you want them to do. Just give a simple instruction and leave it at that. It's not personal. Children with autism sometimes behave in ways that appear angry. They may strike out at you, and it's important to realize that it's not something personal toward you. It's the way they have to deal with the environment at times. And so Don't become upset or think that the child doesn't like you. Just do what you can to calm the situation down. Because children with autism often appear not to hear what you say and they appear not to be listening, does not mean that they are not listening and that they do not hear you. So it's always important to remember they're in the room and never speak about them as if they're not there. Transitions. Transitions are another difficult time for children with autism. It's best if you can prepare them ahead of time, use a time timer, or go and tell them we're getting ready to go do whatever the next thing is you're going to do. But just remember, prepare them in advance. Establishing independence with children with autism is very important. Because they have difficulty with their motor skills, it's sometimes slow for them to do things like put on their jacket or tie their shoes. But it's important that you take your time and teach them to do it, let them learn to do it so they can become more independent, and it'll save time later. And this is my favorite. Remember, rewards come before consequences. Consequences is often a term that's used in place of punishment because it sounds nicer. However, rewards work much better. We all love praise. I love praise. You love praise. So praise these children as often as you can when they're doing the things that you want them to do. Use consequences sparingly and only if completely necessary. So, here are some classroom strategies for all you teachers out there. Parents, it's good to know also what your teachers are doing at school, and maybe there's some of these you can use at home. Communication, pictures and picture schedules, simple sign language, assignment notebooks for those who read, teach the meaning of symbols, short verbal phrases. All this means to say, if you have a child who needs a schedule and that child responds to visual pictures, you can simply make a schedule. I like the ones with Velcro, and you stick it together in the order in which the child needs to do something. So for instance, if the child's going to gym, that would be stuck on there along with the things to follow. You just, when gym is finished, you move it and go on to the next thing. It makes it really easy to change the schedule around in a visual way which the child can understand. One of the things that kids may need to know is when they need to really focus the attention on the teacher. And so having a key phrase such as, "Are you listening? This is important." One simple short phrase to try to get their attention before you give them the next information. Because children with autism struggle with social interactions with others, it's good to use mixed groups to help the child learn to interact with other children in the classroom of different ages. Anytime that you can mix the group up and have someone else interacting with the child, his social skills are being developed. Also, you can use social skill stories, and often that's simple stories that children like to be read to anyway, but you can emphasize the social skill, whether it's sharing, whether it's playing, talking to someone else. Make that a strong point of the story. So just remember, it's good for the children, all children, and especially those with autism, to work together in pairs and teamwork whenever they can. For behavioral issues, it's always good to use classroom seating as a strategy. You need to determine what place in the classroom is the least distractive, and that's where you want to put this child. You would put them facing away from the brightly colored posters, away from the busyness of the class, and let them have a little bit of space so that they don't have so many things coming in and distracting them. To make the environment even better, it's important to realize we're always a role model. We need to model positive behavior for all the children. So what does that mean? If we don't want the child to yell, we don't want the child to act angry and upset, then we need to model the behavior we want the child to learn. It's always important to remember that. Another important thing to remember is scheduling. You can't expect to tell this child one time in the morning what the schedule is. You will need to repeat that schedule several times a day. When one task is complete and you're going to the next task, just go through the schedule again briefly so that it can be reminding the child what to expect. As for environmental strategies, they kind of go with the other things that we've talked about already. Try to have unnecessary materials away from the child, off of their desk. Put them in a place where they have less distractions and they can focus. Post daily schedules and things should work out a lot better. For visual strategies, remember that vision is very important. Most of these students are visual thinkers and visual learners. Anything that can use paired with the picture will help them remember it. If you're teaching a child words or colors, you can pair the picture up, something red and the word red, and they'll learn to cut their words much quicker that way. Sensory strategies are also important. Oftentimes the rocking that we see or other of the behaviors we see are to self-soothe, to comfort themselves. So if you have something they can keep in their hands, a ball or maybe a soft stuffed animal that they can use to soothe themselves, you may help decrease this other behavior. Another thing that's involving sensory is the fact that they can't really tune out as much as we can. A lot of information comes in through their senses. So it may be necessary for them to be able to take a self-time out. They may need to move from where they are and go to another place where they can have a relaxing activity and then come back to the task that they were working on. So in summary, it's important that we remember autism is a serious disorder. It affects children in different ways. Some of them may have few of these symptoms, and others may have many. Although there's a lot of research going on every day, we don't know what causes autism. But we do know it's important that we start the treatment and intervention as early as possible. If you or anyone you know has a child who exhibits any of these characteristics, if they can't make eye contact, if they avoid being snuggled, any of those things, please seek help. There's a lot of information available online about autism. It's there for you to find and to use. Also, the EC2 is here to help you in any way we can. If you need more information or if you have questions, just contact the EC2 and I or any of the other specialists are here to help you in any way we can. Thank you for watching.